approach to game one is by the book. A lot of these picks and counter picks based on the phase one bans. Now, it feels like G2 have got a much earlier spiking team composition than that of Unicorns. Do you think that's fair?
A lot of late game scaling.
Yeah.
I mean, I see a lot of late game as well from G2 with Gangplank up in the top lane and Ryze in mid.
Yeah, and you also have to worry about the late game when you play only with 2 damage dealers in the Vladimir and the Caitlyn. For conventional teams, that can become a worrying thing. The problem is the Unicorns are so good with their teamfight target selection that they've played many great late games with only 2 damage dealers, and also they have the 2 best ones to boot.
I'm a little bit concerned regarding Expect in this Gangplank because it's such a slow scaling pick. And Unicorns love their composition. Time Control to Shen ulti, like they can move around the map very quickly. They can force a lot of plays where Expect might not be able to react, and that is a good looking Unicorn.
It's the Unicorns versus the Samurai. Sheepy and Youngbuck shaking hands for the first time tonight in the championship final. Hamburg in the Barclaycard Arena. Show your support for who you think will be taking this one. Exile in the mid lane on that Vladimir. There's a lot of pressure going up against a very seasoned combatant in Perkz.
Definitely so. Perkz is a man who's been dominating this split in the mid lane, really wanted to prove something after 2016. A lot of people were putting a lot of hate towards him.
It's Unicorns of Love taking on G2 Esports. A shot at the crown, a shot at the title. Let's put your hands together for your spring split finals. It's game one.
All right, this final here is so exciting. There's so much potential here. The Kings of Europe, G2 Esports, has been dominating for a year against Unicorns of Love, the fan favorite who comes in after 2 years of not making the final.
And also just finding more consistency. That was always what was plaguing the Unicorns, but they have come up to the top ranks in a different fashion. They are not just copying what other teams are doing.
Let's see what happens here. Xerxes coming in.
Oh, that's going to be a flash, yep. One of the problems with Rumble Jungler, no gap closer, and if he falls behind early on, he loses a lot of his momentum.
Such a good start here on stage. Game one, 1 minute in, and then you force a flash from the enemy jungler. Obviously, Trick is a man with a lot of experience. Not gonna be too nervous coming into this one.
We're seeing something similar here that we saw before. When you play versus an Ivern, you cannot let him get his favorite path. The problem is when you play versus Xerxes Ivern, he will take that into consideration, and despite being a rookie, generally get both buffs and creative gang pathing.
Yeah, the very traditional start for Ivern is Raptor Camp and Red buff. He marks both of them, and then he can always invade enemy blue buff. But Xerxes, he's starting on the other side of the map. He's starting at his own blue. So now Trick, while he's looking for him, or maybe look to steal away a camp, he's not going to find the Ivern.
And I wonder, with that knowledge, seeing that the enemy Raptors are up, may Xerxes choose to just go for Raptors into blue, switch to the red side, steal it away, and maybe gank top early, because a lot of people have been giving praise to Xerxes for his topside synergy with Vizicsacsi.
Of course, that's definitely going to help unlock Vizicsacsi on that Shen. Punishing Gangplank. Down the bottom lane, Samux takes an early flay, and Mithy, a couple of autos in reply.
And we can talk a little bit real quick about how Caitlyn is a fine pick here. She outranges, so she can usually farm what we call 1v2. So she can get priority in the lane. Tahm Kench gets bullied out, but he has a decent amount of range poke. And the most important part is that you can always devour the hook. And Tahm Kench itself is so tanky that it's really hard for G2 to really find an opening in the lane trade-wise.
Early on, Hillasang taking the minion though to try and get to that level 2 mark himself, together with Samux. Just hit it, so we got to see now this path here from Xerxes. He went back down, checked his red buff, marked it, and then he's going towards the top side.
Oh, look at that. Mithy gets the death sentence, but gobbledygook. Samux instantly taken away by the Devour. Flay comes down from Mithy and the trading continues.
Now there's a really small window where Mithy can play up, where Hook actually has a slower cooldown or lower cooldown than the Devour. That is a window where Samux has to be careful if he gets flashed on.
We have to look towards the mid lane now, guys, because there was a ward placed by Exile on the Raptor camp. They know Trick is around. Xerxes is invading in for red buff.
Yeah, smite.
Trick didn't see it yet, so this would be just taken away by Xerxes. It's the ward placed by Exile a little bit earlier that gives him some of this information on where Trick would be on the map and allows him to now steal away a buff.
Now it does seem that Trick was incorporating this into his pathing. He never really went for an early red buff, could have already had it, so maybe he assumed it was lost regardless, and he was playing around a potential level 1 red buff steal, so he's not too phased with the red buff being gone in the end. It still fits the plan. He's still pathing efficiently and continuously clearing camps.
Well, See how Xerxes actually handles this pressure. He's back on a champion that really he played quite a lot in the early stages of the splits and helped Unicorns pick up a number of wins. Their sentence catches Hilly, but for UOL, it's going back to this kind of team fight style that they were very popular for in the regular season.
Exactly, Xerxes was one of the guys who introduced Iron to the competitive scene. He's sitting bot lane right now. 2 flashes available on the side of G2, and he's just recalling, waiting to see if there is some sort of overextension, but we don't get to see it.
Yeah, just pick that one back up again, you know, sort of popularizing the pick. And if we look at Unicorn's style all split long, they've grown, they've developed an understanding of how to play the game. But this comp kind of speaks to some of their strengths,
Yes.
you know? Keep Samux alive, enable him with Exile, Xerxes, and Vizicachi.
It also speaks to how they found initial progression. They were struggling macro-wise many like months ago, and they started slotting in the Shen. And the Shen allows you to play on multiple lanes at once. If you make a mistake, you have teleport, you have ultimate. There's a lot of options to Vizicachi, and he's quite a smart, intelligent player. Obviously a chess god as well. And that allowed them to really start learning how to play the map better. And eventually they started carrying without the Shen.
Yep.
But it's definitely a staple pick for them, and we may see bans throughout the series if they are successful this game.
I mean, again, we've seen so many bans against Vizicachi and his Shen. Now, bot lane, we might see some action. Trick is here. Can't devour yourself, Hillisang.
You can't. Hillisang's in trouble, gets caught by the Flay, but the Grey health is available to him. Pops that underneath the tower, and Trick takes a lick in before he escapes.
But it is a good pressure gank, and nowadays about bot lane, it's only about getting the wave pushed in and having great base timings. If you can base before the cannon wave spawns, that is ideal for a lot of these AD carries here. So G2 may just go for the shove and the reset and then get the advantage.
Well, looks to be the case. Plus 7 CS for Sven at the moment. Perks trying to use those charges. Actually takes an ignite from Exile. He ghosted up to chase in. He's playing very sort of forward in lane right now.
And we're going to see a lot of like aggressive moves in the mid lane. Like both of these players like to go for the 1v1s. Perks is, you know, matured a little bit and it's not going for the 2 risky plays, but Exile is the man who can dive in. Let's see what happens up top lane as well.
Yeah, a little nifty trick here. Mithy with the staggered base with Sven, which means he can run out, potentially Lantern, or show up in other lanes forward. This is why pushing in and resetting is always great for teams that do it first, because Mithy is now out of his base, while the Samux and Hillisang, they're still pushing out to achieve the same thing. While Mithy is already influencing the map, potentially ganking mid lane here, Unicorns are reacting.
He's pathing towards mid to see if he needs to go somewhere else. Might see if he can force something here. Doesn't really get anything, but it's mainly just go mid lane to see if you need to suddenly react and go top lane very quickly, or if you can go back down to the bottom lane.
Oh, so difficult to gank a Vlad with Flash and Pool. We're about 6 minutes in, gentlemen. Top laners have their ultimates. Stand united for Chachi and Cannon Barrage for Expect, so that can also join any of these plays. Look, Hilly also roamed to mid, and you notice Sven and Mithy weren't there.
And this could actually prompt another push here in the bot lane and then a swap up top, because one move that is really efficient against a Shen is pushing in and rotating and just keeping that Stand United off the map, especially when you have a gangplank.
And we see some roams earlier on, and we talked about Unicorn's playstyle as well just before here, and how they introduce some of these team fighting comps here in Europe. And if you look at the graph down the bottom of the screen, as you can see, kills per game especially, highest in the EU LCS from the Unicorns of love. They are so active once we get past the early laning phase. And it's not just, you know, 1v1 kills, it's actually grouping very early around the mid lane, 3, 4, 5 members, and you look for engages. If the other team is not ready, if they do not respond properly, they die, they lose a dragon, they lose a tower, and suddenly the game just falls apart.
And the polar opposite was actually true for G2 Esports in the first, say, 6-7 weeks of the LCS. They came out and said they were focusing more so on the mid-late game macro, and obviously that slows down your style because they only take super efficient trades.
Trick level 6 now, he's bot lane again. Sven can arrow onto Hillisang, he's doing it.
Well, Hillisang's got access to the Flash, instantly goes away. Cannon Barrage comes down as well. Grey health is popped, but the Flay is short. The Flay doesn't catch Hilly, and Unicorn survive.
There was no hook from Miffy, so that may have been on cooldown, but it also tells us why the swap did not happen for G2, because they wanted to use double global, or well, one global and one really long-range equalizer to surprise the Unicorns, but their plan fails.
Well, Matthew also didn't want to fully commit with Flash Flay instantly into exhausting, just try and keep Hillisang near that Rumble ulti. This one is just poking because they know Exile's on the way. They already pinged him, and they also saw Xerxes near this bottom lane.
Literally, this entire stadium held their breath when Hilly got caught by that death sentence, and it just feels like all of this focuses around the bottom lane. Trick and Xerxes both kind of shown their faces a few times in the opening 10 minutes.
Yeah, often when you see like Shen gang playing 2 champions with globals, you don't really go to that lane very often. It's not where the action needs to happen, because bot lane, they can join. One can obviously have the entire character show up, and the other one with a very strong AoE ulti.
Yeah, they neutralize each other, because usually when you have a global on the enemy team, you have to attack it first, or he will join you. But when you have both Cannon Barrage and Stand United, you are fine playing on the other side of the map and just going for a surprise CC layering.
And he talked about those globals. Take a look at the top lane. Visit Chachi pushing very heavily into Expect. He's winning out those trades. We'll get there in a moment or two as Xerxes going to come help out Exile. A little bit of a shield. The Sanguine Pool gives him some HP, but he has perks on a potential roam. It's just a warning mission.
All Unicorns are doing with the roams towards mid lane, they're not looking for kills on perks. They're just trying to protect Exile. They're trying to allow this Vladimir to scale, get into the late game. We saw against Misfits, Exile died solo quite a few times to Power of Evil. They can't allow that to happen against perks, so they just want to make sure he's always safe and he gets past his laning phase.
Yeah, all split long. Exile has been soloed 1v1'd 8 times. 3 of those times happened in the semi-final. Luckily, there's some support this time around as Xerxes and Trick. They're going to reveal one another's positions up in the top lane. Some potential dive onto Expect as he's low.
Yeah, this is more of a pressure gank. A lot of this ganking and pathing is not around getting kills. It's all based around pressure. Seeing if we can get the baseline.
Shadow dash under the tower. Flash away. Expect survives. He eats an Origin. It's okay. Chachi tanks a turret shot, and Unicorns trying to make that 2v2 synergy in the top lane work.
Yeah, Ivan here without Daisy. He's not the man who follows on your taunt to like burst down a target, but Expect might need to use teleport, which will be really bad for him as he can't then join Shen later on. Seems like he's just running back as Trick took care of the wave.
But the opposite is happening in the mid lane. As long as both junglers are tied up in the top lane, Perkz is honestly going to town on Exile. He had to base right now on 20%. He's going to lose this push, and that frees up Perkz to maybe roam or get chip damage. This turret will go down to like 40%, 30 maybe when Perkz is done.
Yeah, all Perkz needed was just getting some mana under his belt here, so he could actually start really spamming away in these one-on-ones against Exile and then taking over the lane. He's slowly just taking down this turret, and this is really bad for Unicorns of Love because they haven't actually, done anything wrong. They haven't made an aggressive play yet. They got punished. They're trying mid again. Perkz stays alive. This means Perkz can now continue pushing.
This is something Perkz has changed a lot in his playstyle. In his rookie split, he came out and he was always playing super far forward and then kind of outplaying the situation. He has really started to respect the boundaries and playing passive where he needs to, but stepping into the trade where he can.
Now, a man who's also been doing really well this split is Trick. No one talked as much about him like last year, where he was obviously 2-time MVP, but he's still been consistently good, and he's bot lane again with this Rumble.
All right, let's see if the kill can happen. 11 minutes in, Asher onto Helisang. This should be first blood. Stand United comes down. First blood picked up by Sven, and the defending champions G2.
And a beautiful lantern from Mithi as well, and they do exactly what they need to. They burn through the Shen shield before Vizichachi gets there. It was the Unicorns trying to lure them into a trap using the Grey Health and the Stand United. But G2, suddenly they showed up with multiple members and they were much faster.
Is this going to result in some chip damage onto the tower as well? Look at Exile potentially coming if G2 had stuck around. And G2 with first blood, they're 1,000 gold up.
Exactly, G2 doing what they need to do here. Put some pressure early with this Rumble. When you have ulti, Unicorns of Love, they just want to scale. They just want to go to late game team fights with Vladimir, Caitlyn, Ivan. All these champions will do so well later on. So it's on G2 to keep forcing plays like they've been doing so far. Despite the gold deficit for Unicorns of Love, they're still in this game.
I mean, look at the Shen ultimate. It was about 4 seconds, 5 seconds late because they felt like they could surprise with it. But then suddenly, honestly, Perkz comes in with additional damage, just enough. Mithi very cognizant of where his Ven is. And honestly, a very clean play by G2 Esports.
Yeah, manages to net them the advantage, and with the help of teamwork and communication, they make that work off. Now, Unicorns of Love as a team have not necessarily been the strongest in the early game. They have tended to go pretty even, and then they have these explosive growths when it comes to finding a team fight or finding advantages. Let's take a look at some of those gold differences, and Crepo, maybe explain to me what it means.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a surge at like 18, 19 minutes where suddenly the map opens up a bit. Unicorns often have these picks like the Tahm Kench or the Shen ultimate, or they're just willing to make even bad engages, and that's where their gold starts spiking up. Like, how often have we seen Hylissang almost caught, but then it goes into a win? How often have we seen them creatively play around the map in ways that other teams may not want to do just yet? And that is what generates that really big spike at that point.
Yeah, 22 minutes is what you need to look at on the graphic. That's where we see the big advantage for Unicorns. So often it's a one team fight into like a few towers or Baron, and then they use that to close out the game very, very quickly. I actually see a lot of people kind of mistake the fact that Unicorns have very fast games for them not, or for them actually getting ahead early on, but that's not the case. They're just really good at closing when they have an advantage.
And something that also plays into that is that they are willing to play losing matchups gracefully. That obviously means you don't snowball too much in the early game, but then when they spike already maybe at 22 minutes, and you can unlock some of these maybe weaker supports that got outpushed by a Karma but have way more teamfight utility on Hylissang, that's where the trade-off pays off.
Well, luckily Hylissang has got something where trade-off could happen. He's got himself, this time Kench is under pressure though. Mithy and Sven making their way forward. Trix just waiting in the wings. Look at that. Ash Arrow, Death Sentence. Hylissang will go down. The kill is secured by Trick.
It's almost too easy now for G2 in the bottom lane. It's just an Ash Arrow into Hylissang. He did not respect it, did not use the flash. Unicorn sticking to the lanes, cost them a few kills, but they're still just trying to scale.
G2 have now shown this combo twice to the Unicorn, so Hylissang will have to start playing
3 times even.
behind Samux and then go for Devour. Let Samux take the arrow or the hook or both and devour him and flash out. That is the answer right now. G2 setting up a siege. They still have Cannon Barrage if they needed to. They held it, so they didn't use too many resources on this kill. They're playing extremely efficient.
Yeah, right now multiple lanes for G2 are actually winning. They are pushing into these turrets. They expect top lane. Mid lane is already very low. Bot lane now winning for G2 due to Trick's ganks. So 3 lanes under pressure for the Unicorns of Love.
It's actually a change, though, for Expect in the last few minutes. That Trinity Force was picked up. We've seen him bullied the majority of this early game. And it feels like once he got that Triforce picked up, now he's putting some additional pressure and shoving Vizichachi and UOL back.
That is obviously the nature of this Gangplank matchup, and G2 knew that. They just wanted the scaling component. The one caveat is make sure Expect does not fall behind to repetitive ganks, and Trick was right there to shadow him.
Exactly, and it's hard for Unicorns to kind of swap out of the lanes, because when you play against Gangplank, when you try and lane swap, well, he just uses ulti to kill the wave on the other side, and then you lose the first tower. But they will lose first tower right now, without getting anything in return.
Yeah, and there's another top laner that also does that, Rumble. And you just put him in the jungle, then you have 2 of those kind of lane-saving mechanics, so you can't go for split map rotational play. You need to match. And when you match against G2 and they get to play their style, it's going to be very hard for you.
Yeah, well, we need Hylissang's Tahm Kench on the move.
Unbench the Kench.
Get him towards the mid lane. Use that Tahm Kench ulti to either go top lane and maybe take down Expect and trade for this, bot lane tower that's going to go down eventually. We need to see Unicorns get out of these lanes without just losing 3 towers.
Well, there's going to be some more pressure on Vizichachi. Attack the global. Vizichachi is going to get burned down by the equalizer. Expect, where's the Cannon Barrage? He fires it. Powder Kegs in front as Vizichachi's flashed. There's no support from the rest of the map. Electro Harpoon slows him, burns him. Rumble, Trick and Expect get the kill. Now Xerxes and Exile, they're flashing forward. Perks flashes defensively. Here comes Daisy. Realm Warp to safety.
He lives!
Gets out!
Xerxes are trying his hardest to gank these lanes here, but he doesn't add any damage to his laners. So Exile, Xerxes, they do not kill Perks, but they might get mid tower.
Yeah, there's still a full HP turret, so the yield from this play is still that they can burn down a completely protected turret. They're still too slow to get that first turret gold, though.
This is not the game 1 Unicorns of Love we're hoping for. Losing their lanes right now, not able to really set up any plays. They will get a mid tower, which is very good, but they lost that first top tower.
And this is exactly the game that G2 were playing for. You looked at picks and bans, you looked at the rock, paper, scissors effect of what happens in each, stage. And G2, this team composition, they've been able to activate it earlier, punishing Hilly, getting chip damage across the map and building up a 2,500 gold lead before 20 minutes.
Yeah, we get to see why we call G2 Esports such a smart team. They know exactly what to draft in this first game here, and we see the plays. Go bot lane over and over, your other lanes will do fine, just respect the ganks, and now they have built up quite a goal lead 17 minutes in, but this is where Unicorns of Love wants to start fighting with their comp.
And this is also where you need to praise Trick, honestly, because he played last year a fantastic jungle meta where it was all about clearing a lot of camps, leaving vision, and becoming the carry yourselves. But here, he is so good at shadowing his lanes, showing up where he needs to add pressure. He never really has gone for a gank until just now, but all the chip damage comes from the pressure that he's been putting on the lanes.
Yep, all the junglers in Europe, they say Jankos, he's the best early game jungler, but Trick, he's the smartest jungler. And whenever you play against Trick, he just knows where you're on the map, he knows how to outpath you and to outfarm you. And this game here, 3 ganks so far, 3 kills for his team.
Yeah, really putting on a performance. Got a sizable CS advantage and 600 gold up. This was Perks with the great round warp escape.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was dead, but they ran out of damage. Hang on,
Hylissang's in trouble. Trick manages to sneak in. Look at that, there's a control ward in the pit, but the Stand United, that's gonna save Hilly's life. Vizichachi's looking for a re-engage, but there's no damage for the supports.
So we got now a defensive ulti used by Chachi. to save Hylissang's life. No flash used either. Exile aggressive.
All right, Round War Perk wants to get out, and he will do so. They trade ultimates for ultimates.
Always playing with respect. If you don't know where Xerxes is, you can't afford walking into a straight line because you may just get bound. Immediately answering ulti for ulti is a fine trade, and then you can still dance around in it to juke skill shots.
Unicorns of Love, they're still playing from behind. And gents, we talked a lot about the Unicorn style and how this team composition kind of harkens back to earlier in the split. But this is also G2's style. It is calculated, it is controlled, it is suffocating. Because it hasn't felt like G2's made a mistake or an error that Unicorns could even possibly punish.
Oh, G2 Esports, they're the kind of team who always wants to try and take whatever play they're making and make sure it's like a 70-30, 80-20 in favor of them. So there's a very low chance it actually backfires. And whenever they then go for the plays, it doesn't always have to be the highest reward, but it's a small victory they can gain. They use to get something bigger after.
And that is the main point as well. When they lose the pot, they're not broke. They're not going all in on every play. These guys, they play with small bet sizes, whereas the Unicorns, they're sometimes willing to bet just a little bit more.
Of course, and that's, you know, kind of the cool thing about Unicorns a lot, and Fnatic as well with their playstyle. Hylissang, he's getting caught, or is he baiting?
A little bit unfortunate, manages to get the lick and stick on Trick, but he's managed to get out with the Devour. There was no real follow-up or commitment from either team there.
It's the kind of game, though, where Unicorns will have to go for those 50-50s later on. They have to risk it all in potential big fights, otherwise they won't get back into this game easily. We said this in Champs League, G2's late game is also very strong. It's just not as tanky as the Unicorn side.
But look, as these turrets start falling and people start moving around more, we're approaching the 20 to 22 minute mark. Unicorns of Love much more willing to group up, deliver Exile. If Exile, yes, he can't kill Perks, but if he gets dropped in the backline versus Sven and Mitty, they will both blow up. So it's not out of the question yet that the Unicorns can still win teamfights.
Early magic penetration from Exile to get some more damage against the backline of G2. Get some early MR as well on the side of Expect, obviously on the Gangplank. But he's not really the guy you're aiming for. If you're Exile, you want to get to Sven in that backline.
Well, let's find out if Unicorns can. Once again, death sentence onto Hilly. He had flash, chose not to use it. Daisy comes down.
Exile!
Exile's on the back line. Sven's the target. Hemoplate's not going to pop him yet. Exile and Sanguine Pool still alive. Nobody's died yet. Daisy wants to wallop G2's back line. Everyone disengages.
Daisy died! She's no longer with us, and that's the only one. What a fight here on both ends, but good kiting, and that's what G2's comp is built about. They want to start a fight slow and then kite their way out with the Ashe, with the Rise, and just focus frontline. But Exile almost surprised the G2 bot lane there.
Oh yeah, he found the backline right there. He didn't manage to kill Sven though. Let's see, Perks going aggressive.
Oh, round one onto Hylissang. Brings the minions with him. Powder Cake's just out of range. And
that looked very hype, but nothing actually happened.
I was building it up. They got the tower to Fishio. Trick hanging out in the bush here. Waiting for Samix. They've recalled G2, 4,000 gold up. It's 20 minutes on the board. Item in their favor, kills in their favor, towers in their favor. Nobody wants a dragon, but we don't care about that yet.
But the crowd is not in their favor today, and that may be the saving grace for the Unicorns.
Not right now, it appears, as Unicorns, they need to buy themselves some support. They need to buy themselves more time.
Get a turret, maybe?
And maybe buy themselves an extra life.
Yeah, Trick is on his way.
Well, let's find out what he can do.
Expect just wants to defend with Trick up in his top lane here. Want to delay Unicorns getting any gold, but now Chachi, next ulti. It's going to be used aggressively as well. We need to see that from Unicorns. Put it on Exile. Let him get into that backline once again.
Yeah, and the cadence of the Shen ultimates will obviously increase as well as he reaches level 16 soon. And you can get many more out, and it's much easier to play an almost chaotic environment where things are much more fast-paced.
That's the thing with playing against Unicorns of Love. You can't just dance around them and never fight them. You have to sometimes accept that if they go for a risky fight, well, you have to take that fight as well and try and make it in your favor. That's what G2 succeeded with when they played earlier in the split against Unicorns of Love. They actually matched the team fighting power of the Unicorns. Bot lane tower will fall though, so Unicorns are getting some gold in the back here. Samax is going to be fairly weak here in the mid game though on this Caitlyn.
Still okay on 2 items.
Yeah, look at the itemization. He hasn't got his eye edge yet, but luckily for Unicorns, a little bit of late game investment as well. Dragon uncontested here. G2 simply not around.
And now we also can see Unicorns comp with Tahm Kench, Shen. Really get annoying to play against because now these outer turrets are gone. Exile are trying to find Sven again. He's actually losing the trade right now.
Oh, Hemoplate goes down, buys some time. Ace in the hole comes out, and look at Mitby. His style has changed, playing more defensive on that Thresh. Equalizer was thrown onto Exile. Samax, 90 calibers to safety. Ash Arrow comes down. This is all just a little bit messy, but G2 have got positioning on the tower.
G2 had the minion wave pushing in already, so them forcing Samax to take a long route around was actually very smart. Doesn't matter if you miss the arrow, as long as you force Caitlyn away and they secure another objective.
And that is their main strength. They set themselves up for victorious fights so often that when teams start recognizing this, they just don't take the fight because they know they would lose. Well, G2, then they take the spoils of war, which is a turret here, a few camps right there, a neutral objective, and they play the map so well.
Yeah, it's just really good macro from G2 Esports, not allowing Unicorns to just force fights left and right with some of the globals here. You see, whenever Sven is under pressure, Mithy is nearby, Lantern is ready. And that's the kind of play G2 are just able to do here in Europe, or perfect almost in Europe.
And they also instill confidence in each other. Sven knows he has the backup from his team, so he can play on the maximum range of this Vladimir and really kite, you know, with the slows, with the Blade of the Ruined King. He now has healing reduction built in his kit already as well, and this Ashe is definitely ramping up.
Well, ramping up, and so is the whole G2. Gentlemen, I have been informed by our stats team that we've set a new record in the finals. That Mountain Drake survived the longest of any Mountain Drake to date. Thank you, stats team.
We talked about this, Trevor.
What are we talking about?
Jungle lifetime does not matter. We do not care for your Mountain Drake.
I like tracking these things, and it's Unicorns that got that dragon. They're still 4,000 gold down. They've got that Infinity Edge at last, and the scaling.
And the Mountain Drake.
Oh, the Mountain Drake!
It died really late.
For 24 minutes, and now it's died.
I'd rather talk about the fact that Unicorns, 25 minutes in, they've not picked up a kill.
Not a single
this is
kill.
Not something we see very often from them, and they need to take that big turnaround fight. Let's see Hylissang using ulti.
Maybe this is number one.
Gonna fight
Lantern
just
again.
yet. That's great. Mithy, you can see how his positioning is completely shifted. In the laning phase, it was forward, 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 looking for every death sentence. And now traditionally in every pro game, playing a Lantern bot.
Lantern bot, such a fun style to play. You know, every Thresh out there really enjoys it. Throwing that Lantern out for his team, knowing the bastard won't click it, or too late, or
well,
something.
I mean, you only have one ability on Thresh, right?
Yeah.
Which is Lantern.
Trick has multiple abilities, though, and he's ready to use them all right now.
Look at the minimap. Exile. First Rather's coming in from the river. Death sentence comes down, and Hylissang's the target. Cannon barrage onto Samax, who's running for his life. Here comes Daisy. Flash forward for Perks. That's the first. Expect against Samax. Trick may get taken up by Vizichati on the back end. The MVP. The first kill for the Unicorns. Now Exile's running for his life as this Ashe-enabled powerhouse from Sven. He's looking for Vizichati. It's a 1v2. G2, they're not done yet. Vizichati's gonna make his way out. Mithy, flash death sentence is available, but it might be optimistic.
Chachi is out for now, but he needs to kill this wave here. Otherwise, actually, no, he's caught.
Take a look at that. Vizichati, death sentence into the flame. Shadow dash to safety. Spirit refuge and devour. G2 will be denied another kill.
So is Unicorns of Love pushing towards that mid tower after they tried to fight, and then G2 sets up such a nice flank. Trick from the side, Perks from the side as well, and Mithy starting the whole fight.
And more importantly, they get Devour on cooldown. Devour is such a strong mid-team fight ability, but if you can make a long fight happen, get it on cooldown, Samax was left in the back. Take note of how Trick just starts the fight. That is his role. He needs to engage. Give pressure for Mithy to walk up. Samax is caught here, though. He should not be this far forward.
Yeah, that Q from Samax really cost him a lot because he actually stopped in place to do it.
And watch his flash of Perks. He goes around, so he doesn't walk straight in, nor does he flash straight. He walks around the wall to then surprise Samax with the engage, and it's all those little things that leaves Ven completely untouched in the fight.
Exactly, and the timing with the Rumble ulti from Trick, when there was nowhere to go from the Unicorns of Love, he lays it down, and then Perks flashes over and keeps everyone in place. And this is Unicorns of Love with this very defensive comp, not able to force anything.
And this is where Perks, for me, has become such a stellar player. His awareness in teamfights, when to go in, when to go out, when to flash, when to maybe even sacrifice yourself for the team, become a much more well-rounded player. He used to be the lane bully into Snowball, and then play, a little bit iffy on the side lanes, but he's much more intelligent right now when it comes to decision-making.
And despite G2 getting a big advantage early on, they are still sitting with those 3 outer turrets, or 3 turrets down, 2 in the mid lane, 1 in the top lane. Unicorns have managed to kind of stop the bleeding at least. Next objective might be the Big Baron though.
Is this somewhere G2 start to worry a little bit? They're still in great control. They've still got a 5,000 gold lead, but as we get closer to 30 minutes, Shen and Caitlyn and Ivern and Vlad, they become more terrifying.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast, but you have 4 damage dealers on the side of G2, so if you use that power together well, you can take out any carry. You see, even with the shields, the Shen ultimate and the Devour, Samus is still falling in the backline. The problem is, if this front line from Vizichati and Xerxes becomes so menacing to deal with, especially with Daisy, that maybe G2 die in the way or in the process of targeting that backline.
We saw in the last fight how Sven instantly would just flash out when Exile would go for him in the backline. That flash is on cooldown now for Sven. Gives a small window for Unicorns of Love to maybe try and find him in one of these fights, because Thresh as a champion, he can peel melee champions fairly well, like flay them, slow them down, but he doesn't really prevent a whole lot of damage against you. So if you are sitting next to the AD carry, Thresh is not the man who, you know, saves that AD carry.
And that is exactly why, as Trevor pointed out earlier, Mithy is just constantly playing on the backline. Thresh in the mid to late game shifts into Lantern and then getting easy hooks of people who are walking forward. We see a Rise ultimate down the bottom though, Perks stuck in the corner.
Optimistic.
Misclick.
Oh, Unicorn's going straight towards the Baron here, maybe to see if they can get some vision down and potentially force G2 to come fishing. They're actually TPing, they're starting it straight away.
And you can always put it in the brush. This is not a 50-50, it goes much slower. Yes, there's only 2 carries for damage here, but there's a trap line, and the Unicorns, they're willing to take the gamble.
Mithy's gonna find the death sentence. Baron's helping out G2. Unicorns may have bitten off more than they can chew. Hylissang's running for his life. Expect and spend 2 kills, and now G2 set their sights on Baron.
Yeah, and obviously when you have 4 damage dealers who have a lot of AoE in your kit, you do not want to bunch up. G2 did not care for the Baron. They were irrelevant to it. They just need to prevent Xerxes from stealing it right now.
Perks didn't actually spot Xerxes. Okay, now he sees him in there. So we'll remove him from the equation. It's gonna be just a Baron over to G2.
Punishing UOL's play. Maybe desperation is a harsh word. Risky call from the Unicorns, and it backfires in the worst way.
Yeah, all the chips going to pot. Like G2 knew with the Ashe E that their Baron was still on 50-50, so they could use their AoE abilities in any way and not risk losing it. And at that point, it's so easy getting the help from the Baron.
Unicorn is simply not equipped to fight in that situation. Exile, no flash in the fight. He just got an ulti onto Mithy. That was it. So Unicorn stayed too long on the Baron, maybe thinking they could burst it down in time. It's not backfiring because G2 react instantly, and it's been Unicorns all off trying to group in mid lane, trying to just push up and find some sort of fight, but their comp is lacking ways to engage.
You can just feel how G2 have got their finger on the pulse of this game. They know exactly at every beat where they should be, what they should be doing, and that's why they've got this huge lead.
Yeah, let's take this moment to highlight some of these details then. We saw Perks. He could stay in the mid lane while his team is doing Dragon to cover for them, but G2 had the awareness that they don't need him, so he's already slow pushing top lane. He's going to show up right now to put pressure on the lane. When he knows he's not getting ganked, he needs to see Hylissang first. Now that wave is pushing. Mid lane will be caught, and eventually Expect's going to move to the top lane to catch that Shen. G2 always want to have 2 pushing lanes to dance around with this Baron buff.
Yeah, simply also because G2 needs to avoid any sort of flank. Now the good thing is when you keep pushing down the minion waves, you get vision really deep in the lanes, and it gets much easier for you to put a ward in the enemy jungle and spot any sort of flank. And then suddenly, it's just Exile with the Shen ulti flashing towards you, and that's where Sven can just flash away, and he stays alive.
And if that doesn't work, Mithy will be waiting even further back, and he can use the Lantern.
And he can actually play in between the lanes, throw the Lantern over the walls. Obviously, another bonus or perks of this kind of sieging style is that you can avoid just sieging
Hilly is trying.
but this is the reaction.
All right, let's see. G2 a little bit splits up, flashes over the wall. That's a great equalizer. Good damage onto Unicorns, but Mithy's the first to fall. Unicorns find their second kill, but the re-engage from G2. Powder Keg puts so much damage. Perks arrives at the round wall. That's 2 Unicorns down. Sven gets another. Samux is finally on the board. Gets the 3rd kill of the fight for Unicorns, and they're split.
The rest of G2 just going straight for the base here. I like the engage actually from Hylissang, trying to find a way in the back line, but once again, Sven, early flash, and then he stays alive.
Yeah, everybody flashed away, left Mithy kind of alone. He flashed that into the choke, but immediately they laid down the Rumble ultimate. It's so hard to fight into that, and more importantly, we saw another beautiful flash forward from Perks at the right time. He did not get scared in that fight. He went basically 1 for 2, and that opened up the mid lane for G2.
Yeah. A lot of praise to the coaching staff of G2 as well for that Game 1 draft. You can clearly see the plan, ban out some of the aggressive junglers for Xerxes. He first picks the Ivern, and Unicorns end up drafting a very defensive comp where a lot of the lanes were actually counterpicked by G2. They've been in control in the early game. It's a good engage from Hylissang at first, then the early flash from Sven though sets up G2 for success.
Triple ulti, redemptions come down. Watch how Mithy drops early on, but then the damage kind of runs out because people are constantly walking backwards. They're being slowed by the cannon barrage. Samux cannot get into this fight. Perks realizes that and then flashes in aggressively. He essentially tanks the 4 remaining members and still sets up a 2-for-1 right there. And then obviously this backline, as we talked about, 4 damage dealers in your comp, you can lose 1.
We keep seeing that problem where Exile can go into the backline, Chachi can follow with 1 taunt, and that is it.
Yeah.
Hylissang will not follow, he's the Tahm Kench. Ivern will not follow into the backline, he doesn't offer damage that way, so there's not enough threats from Unicorns to actually get these squishies down outside of G2.
And that is exactly why the Unicorns have been playing with all these flanks. They want to deliver people in the backline with the ultimates, but G2 are constantly positioning, so not a single Abyssal Voyage has landed this game. Not a single teleport from Vizicachi has allowed G2 to be surprised.
But now that we're getting towards late game, you can start changing the way your team fight as Unicorns of Love. You can rely on Samax and say, you know what guys, our front line is strong. With the Shen, with Tahm Kench, and with Ivern, we can actually just hit whoever is in front of us. We don't have to dive the back line, hit the Rumble, hit the Gangplank, and try and play this style where our tanks stay alive for longer and we get down your carries one by one.
And holy crap, Unicorns are going to have to do that flawlessly. They're down 10,000.
Oh yeah, no more mistakes.
Inhibitor exposed. Look at the itemization. 3-4 items across the board here for G2. And G2 might win the first game in a best of 5. That's unheard of. This is a team that historically has nearly never done that.
They win a lot of best of 5s though. In
Expect here. That's cheeky, I like it. Comfortable on stage here. One of the more shy players from G2 whenever you see him.
and the crowd rewards him.
I have to jump in there as well. GP is Expect's favorite champion. He spoke a lot about it last year actually, and how he really wanted to play it a lot. And it's great to see
Yeah, he
G2.
walked up to you on the after party. It's like, dear Mr. Quizshot, can we talk more about my Gangplank? Because
Yes.
he was actually fantastic on it in the later stages of the playoffs last split.
Seen some good combos in this game from Expect. Stayed alive in lane as well when he was under pressure. I guess the same for Expect, the same for G2. They just really want to prove themselves again. They want to go to MSI and they want to just show Europe that they can actually represent the region. If they go to MSI, they have to win this game first.
And two more. Unicorns. Well, let's say the book of strategy was read by G2. They skipped to the ending and went, now we know what to do.
Yeah, but that Goth Unicorn out there has a couple extra books here. You know, they can still spice it up. This is not the only strategy that the Unicorns have prepared. They can hit you with something that you may not expect. But they do it well. It is not random, so let's not mistake this style from Unicorns for bad macro. It's just a different approach to the game, willing to play it slightly differently.
And you have to give kudos to G2 for outplaying it, right? You know, making the right choices, focusing the right areas. Let's talk about 35 minutes in. How does G2 now finish the game? They've got no more outer turrets to knock over. The inhibitor will respawn shortly. Is this another sort of clean Baron style play?
Yep, that is definitely what we're looking at right now, and something we love to talk about here in Europe, the clean Baron setup. So
Talk
G2,
to me about Baron.
I mean, G2 is one of the teams who normally really understand, you know, you push out mid lane, you push your top lane, you get your control wards in the river, and then you just start hovering around in the shadows.
But Mr. Deficio is then Perk setting this up well with the side lane push.
Well, right now he is in the bottom lane as long as he joins his team very quickly. He does not run teleports. It is a bit risky putting him bot lane, but there's still 25 seconds on the Baron. So this only means G2 surrenders the vision in the river, and of course not the Baron itself. Might be a fight. That was a very early ulti from Expect.
Oh, Ash Arrow, I'm waiting to find it. Cannon Barrage comes down. Expect may have pulled the trigger too early. Perks is ghosted and round warped in behind. Samax is going low as Redemption is a gigantic heal. Blue buff is killed in the moment. Hemo play from Exile. Sven survives for a few seconds longer. Samax, 90 calibers up, and Perks catches him. Rune Prison down. The Devour from Hillside. That's a rampage for Expect. He gets the kill into Exile. Chachi follows after.
What a beautiful surround, and honestly triple flank from G2 Esports. They lured Unicorns into our idea that there was a Baron setup happening, but they just forced a fight. Samax did not get to participate in any fighting yet. He was already 40% HP with Redemption Blow and Devour almost on cooldown before he got to play the fight. This was masterfully played here. G2 herding the cattle and then just going for
Exactly. Just such a good setup. They knew Baron wasn't alive, so Perks would push out that lane. He moved in, he ultied in to get the flank. And as soon as they saw Unicorns in the river, they're gonna find a tree.
Yeah, take a look at that. Perks and Mithy were hunting Xerxes the entire time. Just allowed G2 to pick up a safe Baron, reducing the risk of a steal.
Yeah, because that's something you have to be careful against the Unicorns for. They have quite a few Baron steals in their play so far. But you also see this late death means they can now siege up against the Unicorns without a jungler, and they can really take the map slowly again.
That ulti from Expect here just to slow down Unicorns of Love, and Trick actually holds his ulti, waiting for everyone to be in position. That's really good from Trick here, very good with the patience. And then Sven, well, you know, Exile would dive for him, but he's the only one diving for Sven.
Exile dives in, and again, Samus cannot follow up. He's hitting the wolves, maybe Perks once, then Perks gets another aggressive flash in here, basically taking the entire attention of the Unicorn squad. And Sven is never touching these fights. Has so much space to play with that has been created by his team right there. And major kudos to holding that Rumble ultimate because it's so potent in chokes.
You see Vizicachi, very, very stern looks. Spring Split MVP struggling, and Crepo, just before that replay, you touched on the Baron stolen. Did you know Unicorns of Love have stolen 6 Barons this split already?
Yes, I did, because we prepared this graphic together.
Damn it, you spoiled the surprise. And of course, on the other side, G2, they've had 3 stolen, from them, 0 themselves, because they don't really opt into those risky plays at most times. Take a look at this, near flawless siege.
Watch them just step backwards. They're not getting baited into the fights. They will always maintain maximum range until anybody from Unicorns overextend. Mainly that is Exile, and if there's no accompanying flank, it's really easy for G2 to just focus the first target.
Exactly, and I don't care if people don't like, you know, they're slow and steady, but you have to at least respect it when you watch a game like this from G2, where everything's just under control. They know exactly what they need to do, how to play team fights, how to play laning phase, when to fight as well. They didn't get surprised a single time.
No. Love me some macro, and honestly, with very few notable moments where you're like, oh, that was an insane play, they just keep racking up the goal difference every single game. These guys are so smart when it comes to movement, understanding pressure, and translating that. They basically force you to make bad decisions.
Again, it's the small wins all the time. Whenever you get a few small wins, well, suddenly it becomes a much bigger win, much bigger advantage for them as a team. That's why they're winning so hard in game 1.
16,000 gold at 40 minutes.
It's a lot of gold.
2 lanes of super minions in G2.
It's a lot of minions.
It is now just really, in theory,
Wait, he's doing it again.
It is now, in theory, just a matter of time before they
that's one way to get a penta.
To knock over the Nexus. But now let's not forget that of all the teams that have had some of the craziest Nexus plays, it is Unicorns.
And they're holding there for a reason. They're not saying, guys, let's draw something in the river here. They're waiting for mid to push, bot to slow push. They're also trolling a tiny bit, but like, the whole reason you play this way, hang on, Vizichachi.
Oh, a lot of damage onto Trick. The Hemoplague still available. Where is Exile? He's locked in place by the Rune Prison. Trick has gone down, but Miffy and Sven are pushing forward. Death sentence onto Chachi. That may send him to the fountain. Not before the Devour comes up. Perks takes so much damage.
He's on a trap.
Crit, gets the kill. Perks is down.
The trap was in the brush, he did not see it.
And that was the kind of fight we talked about earlier, where Unicorns of Love, they stopped diving the backline and says, you know what? Our Caitlyn is actually in the late game. Just hit the first target.
And G2 failed to do exactly what they were setting up. They were waiting for slow push mid and bot to crash into the base to force the Unicorns. As this fight starts, look where the minion waves are. They should wait another wave for Unicorns to be forced to defend this. There's a 5th trap here in the brush that Perks does not see, and it will become absolutely vital later in the fight.
Yeah, but let's also just praise the creative play here from Unicorns with the brush, and Chachi hiding in there as the only one. The rest of Unicorns were showing in the mid lane, at the tower. That's why G2 thought, well, no one is probably hiding there. They got surprised, it was a taunt into a trap, and then of course Perks on the other trap. Samax is the man we're looking at here in the late game. If he can take down these targets right in front of him, they can win fights.
Samax shows the horns that Unicorns have left. Basically 3 shots Perks. Almost took him out through that Archangels, but how many more chances like that will Unicorns get?
That depends on G2.
Yeah. Right now they are no longer in control of their own destiny. They're at the mercy of a tactical error from G2 Esports, one which is rare, honestly. But they happen. And you have to punish them, and that is also one of the great things about the Unicorns. They will take a mistake and immediately try to punish it. Even if it fails, to try it again right after. They do not give up, play these slow bleeding styles that we saw from Blacks of Vitality this split.
Something we've said a lot about Unicorns, how they can just finish with the lead. Take a look at all of the support stuff for G2.
They brought a Samurai.
Yeah, they did indeed.
Pretty insane support, by the way.
And but that's the thing with G2, this split, they really ramped up their investment in the infrastructure, the support around the team. They've got so many coaches, they can't even all be on stage together.
Yeah, they know how to play the cards. Their Samurai is actually a Hearthstone player.
Good old Lothar with the flag there from G2 Esports. Now, obviously the team, they're like, oh guys, that was a mistake. Let's just refocus again. Do not step on the traps. Do not disrespect the random brush being put in the lane. Someone could hide in there.
Bot lane is still pushing. There should still be one more wave of super creeps, unless the inhibitor is really close to respawning. We have Perks putting pressure mid. And you can still move these lanes around with the Realm Warp.
Important to highlight, if a fight starts, focus Trick if you're Unicorns, because Hourglass is actually not an item that works that well against Caitlyn, because you just get trapped right after. They're going in.
Abyssal Voyage, look at Sven, he's cut off. Stand United's coming down from Vizichachi, but
Sven's down!
He's down! He's down! Samax kills Sven, but there's a reply. Samax is shut down. Perks got him.
They need to watch the bases! Maybe a backdoor expect is going in, but G2 Can they do it in time? Unicorns are teleporting.
4-on-4, Perks and Expector inside the base. Exile, Tides of Blood, flashes forward to the Hemo plate. Here comes Vizicachi, flash torn, needs to lock down G2. They've got one back, Exile's down. There's no more damage for the Unicorns.
They can't really do anything right now. They're just kind of standing around trying to buy time, but G2, they're killing them.
Without Samex, without Hillisung, they're without hope. G2 now set their sights on the Nexus.
It's 4 versus 2. Sven is dead, but that doesn't matter. One more target goes down. Perks is going up. He's on a rampage.
Oh, Perks and the rest of G2, they got Samex. Managed to find the flank. G2 take down the Nexus turrets. Send a gigantic message to the Unicorns and their fans. And the inhibitor says, screw you, mate. We're not done yet.
Well, that's 4 seconds on Samex now. He's coming back to life.
No way.
Xerxes as well.
No
this
way.
means G2 are not risking it all for the Nexus.
No way.
You already prepared your moment. Crepple gets the next one.
Yeah, I will call the Nexus death. No, this is the bane of every play-by-play. You're getting ready. What am I going to say when this Nexus explodes? And then you remember you're playing with a team that is ultra careful because they don't want to lose the first game in the best of 5 like they usually do.
Unicorns do not believe in playing dead. That is a command they refuse to hear.
I mean, we're 45 minutes into the game,
This
you know.
is ridiculous.
These goal leads, as we always talk about, mean less and less. This is the engage because Expect is bot lane and Perks is mid lane. But Sven managed to actually trade his life together with, of course, Perks for Samex's life here.
Yeah, quite the unfortunate combination right there. There was a pre-buffer penalty on the Vladimir, but he was not willing to flash over because he was afraid that Sven then would match the flashes over the wall and obviously kill him. So that means Vizicachi was not present in that fight and they couldn't really get Perks down. All the focus was on Sven.
Back live again. Items here. Chachi needs one more item to fully cap out. Exile halfway there already. Samex 5 fully completed items. So Unicorns have almost hit the full late game. G2 obviously already sits with all the items they need.
Yeah, we can start subtracting gold from his gold lead because Perks is sitting about 2.5k gold that he can't no longer spend because he's already decked out. So if this stays like this for a while, 16,000 gold means nothing because it's not going towards items, it's not going towards power.
Yeah, he can't convert any more stats. There's a Baron buff and an Elder coming up soon, available to G2. And I'm looking at the minimap. 1 Nexus turret remains for Unicorns to stand behind. If ever you were to believe in Magic and give this team support, this next fight will make or break game 1 in this best of 5.
Yeah, G2 Esports important they get minions into the base here so that not only does Unicorns need to focus on the champions, they also have to, of course, trying to protect that last tower they have down in the back. G2 at the moment still with the pressure, still with the control. Flash is available from Sven for a next fight. But again, I want to see Samex just hit this Rumble here. Take the Rumble down first.
Yeah, frontline kiting Caitlyn is what you need, but it's a really thin line between courage and honestly stupidity. G2, they also want to hide in the minions to block potential skill shots that go their way. They don't have a tank, so the minions buffed up become their tank. Slow down, maybe even minion block an Exile who tries to get in there.
Perks is almost able to solo this inhibitor. Cannibal comes down. Samex is running for his life. 90 calibers to safety. Puts a trap down. The inhibitor's gone. The Nexus turret falls as well. Exile has used the Protobell to try close the gap. Follows Samex on the left of the fight. He's focusing on Trick. Trick goes golden with the hourglass. Exile's dead. Hilly's dead. Unicorns, they're dying. Samex is left in a 1-on-3 and he cannot do it.
G2 walk backwards and forwards, beautifully kiting that fight.
The lead was too great. The Kings reign supreme in game 1 of this best of 5.
That was such a good game from G2 Esports. Pick a man phase, I loved it. Early game was beautifully set up. Trick was all over the place in this game as well. And the very defensive Unicorns comp never really got to force anything.
And this Ashe pick was so key because it was arrow into hook into equalizer, and the Unicorns bot lane could not swap out of it because if you swap into a gangplank, it is even more potent in dealing with these side lanes with the cannon barrage, so they were locked in a bind against a team that loves to play this style.
And then late game, Perks, such a carry as well. Like, we looked at Sven a lot because Exile would try and kill him and Sven would flash away. He became just a bait. Perks would always flank around, find the correct target, he would nuke them down super quickly. Beautiful late game Rise performance and beautiful gangplank performance from Expect.
Yeah, Expect 8-0-11 in game 1. Under pressure early on, and a near flawless style. Like both teams, they showed their styles in this game. Unicorns unable to bounce back. Defending champions, they showed their strength in game one. For more, let's head over to the analyst desk to break it down.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And how to kill some of the Unicorns of Love hype? Well, by impeccable macro and absolutely choking them out. And